Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with California Dairy Magazine, reporting to you here today from Turlock, headquarters of Western United Dairies. I'm here with Paul Sousa. He is their Director of Regulatory and Environmental Affairs. Always does a fantastic job staying on top of what's going on and keeping our dairy producers informed. And there's been a lot to keep up with lately, especially on the topic of Quota. The Quota implementation plan that's been in place for many years, administered by the California Department of Food and Agriculture. It's been quite a controversial subject, as some dairy producers are, heavily invested in it, others are not, and those that are not still have to pay into it. There's an assessment that takes place, and some are wanting to terminate the program immediately. In fact, there's a referendum underway to terminate the program immediately, and we'll see pretty soon the results of that. But could you give us an update? Let's start with the referendum.
Yeah, sure. So I do want to point out Western United Dairies doesn't have a position on the quota implementation plan, but we are a source of information for dairy producers. And so it's with that I am here saying what's going on, what's happening in the industry, but not taking a position on that. So we are currently under a referendum under Stop Quit petition number 5 to immediately terminate the quota program, the quota implementation program. This would stop the assessments and the payouts on quota immediately upon announcement of the results if the referendum is successful. That referendum ends September 10th. Dairy producers currently have their ballots. They need to submit those ballots to CDFA to count them. And as we've talked about before, it's important that dairy producers are aware of this issue. Everybody's got a stake in this, and dairy producers should make their voice heard on this topic. It is important when you're voting that the correct person signs the ballot. The names of the people that are eligible to vote would be on the ballot. And so if your name is not on the ballot, don't vote. Don't sign the ballot. Have the correct person from the business sign the ballot. If nobody is on the ballot, nobody's name is on the ballot that is able to vote, contact CDFA to make sure that you get that changed so that whoever is the voting person is the appropriate person. Because in the last referendum, which just happened earlier this year, some ballots were kicked out because the wrong person signed it, or in one case, somebody forgot to sign it. So make sure you do that properly, have your voice be heard. Very important topic in the industry right now. As you mentioned, it's controversial, but at least have your voice be heard and be counted, and make sure that the right person is signing that by September 10th to get that in. So we'll see where that goes, and then we'll have the ballots counted and it come out.
I think based on the results of the last referendum, there's a potential for this to be a really close call, close race here. So that being said, every vote counts one way or another.
Yes. It's very important. The thresholds are pretty high. It does require a 2/3 either of volume of milk or dairy producers, and so everybody participating is important. Just have your voice be heard in this thing.
Right. Now, you mentioned there's some other things going on in the dairy industry right now with regards to quota. It seems like there's been a lot of petitions in the recent years. This is our second referendum this year over the subject. There's some other things underway too, like a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Of CDFA, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so in about mid-July, a new group, which I had not heard of before, it was just formed, Exploited Milk Producers Incorporated. They formed a corporation. It's an association of dairy producers working to eliminate the QUIT program, and filed a lawsuit against Karen Ross and CDFA, stating that the QUIP was not properly put into place. It's invalid. It's illegal. And so we'll see where that goes. It's just new. A lot of folks may not have heard that because it's just came out. I would just when I first saw that, I was not expecting that. There have been lawsuits. Stop Quip is another group that's been out there and has had some lawsuits. But this is a whole new group and a new angle also, that the Administrative Procedures Act wasn't followed. Some new arguments that haven't been made before. I'm not an attorney. I'm not sure where this is going to go, but it's a new new issue going on within the quota program. And so, a lot going on this summer around the quota program.
Yeah, previous lawsuits regarding quota haven't haven't been successful, right?
That's correct. At the last Producer Review Board meeting, there was an announcement made of one. There's been multiples, but there was a lawsuit that the quota is an illegal taking by the government of property. There's laws around that. The government can't take your property and not compensate you for it. And there was an announcement that that lawsuit was dismissed and wasn't successful. So just as one example of something that's happened, people have tried multiple ways and multiple times. Again, not an attorney. The judges, the courts decide those things the way they do. But that was just an announcement that was made at the last Producer Review Board meeting of a recent lawsuit that wasn't successful.
And speaking of Producer Review Board meetings, there's another thing that happened in May, another sort of proposal of a potential solution for the quota controversy.
Yeah, so a different one. A lot of things have been proposed by folks that don't own quota and are trying to get rid of it. This one was a completely different approach, that it was a group of quota holders and a banker together approach CDFA asking what are the process? What process would they follow to issue a bond to purchase all quota from quota holders? So it would be bought out; they would not lose it, and then all dairy producers through the current quota assessment would pay off the bond. At the end of that, quota would be gone. There would be no more assessment. There would be no more quota. But the quota holders would be made whole in the process, in that the quota would have been purchased from them at some price that is going to be part of the negotiated what that price is. So a different spin, different approach from the quota holders. Just there is a lot going on right now, and who knows which wins. Does the petition win? Does the lawsuit win? And if not either one of those two, maybe this thing has another way of addressing the quota in a very different perspective from the side of quota holders that are made whole. But in the end, the program will be gone and settled, and nobody will be paying the assessment anymore.
Right. So that's more of a compromise where the people that don't want quota, eventually it'll be gone. Yeah. But on the other, and then the dairy producers themselves would get some kind of compensation for it, rather than their investment just suddenly disappearing. Yeah. So it's real challenging times. I understand the dairy producers in California are dealing with higher input costs, as the years go on with inflation, and I think that's really adding fuel to this fire on from both sides. So, but yeah, stay tuned. We'll see what happens with this upcoming referendum and some of these other proposals, lawsuits that are going on. So thank you for advising us, helping us know what's going on. Read more about these things in California Dairy Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.